So obviously we're sitting out here in an absolutely beautiful waterfront setting. And you kind of notice the boats going by. If this were the middle of the day on a Saturday, there would be so many more boats and jet skis and all of that. But if you're looking to purchase a waterfront property, there are a couple of things that you need to be aware of that you may not necessarily know. If you can see the stones behind me, they're actually called riprap. There's a bunch of different ways you could do riprap. Um, this is a beautiful way to do it. There also are retaining walls that we have seen. Duke Energy actually owns Lake Norman, as well as a lot of the other lakes in the area. You've got Lake Wiley, Mountain Island Lake, and they're all actually fed through the Catawba River that comes down. And this lake was not here until the 60s. It is a man-made lake, and it's kind of interesting if you go to, if you're in Cornelius, you'll see a road, let's just say Washam Potts is a road in Cornelius. You go to Mooresville, you see Washam Potts. It's because at one point in time that road actually connected, but now it's no longer connected because the lake was made, and it was in full pond, I think in 1968, somewhere around there. There are lots of regulations that Duke requires. It is a watershed area, so there is what's called impervious space per a lot. You can only have a certain, you can only cover a certain amount of your property with concrete based on watershed. So there are certain rules and regulations about that. The other thing is we have buffers in place. At full pond, it's called the 760 line. That is what Duke considers full pond. So some properties were grandfathered in to have less of a buffer, but in general, it is a 50-foot buffer that you cannot touch from the 760 line into your property. So you cannot cut a tree down. You cannot do anything but remove small little sticks and shrubs and things like that. You cannot build within that buffer. You cannot put a structure within that buffer. The other thing is if you're going to have a dock, each property is based on Duke, can have up to one dock per lot. However, there are certain rules and regulations as far as that goes. Currently, you have to have 100 feet of waterfront in order to have a dock put in place. There were lots that actually were grandfathered in. If it was actually recorded prior to 1996, there are certain lots that has smaller water frontage that they also are grandfathered in to be able to have docks, but the dock size will be dependent upon the amount of water frontage that they have. So I actually sold 2 adjacent lots about a year ago, and they had 80 foot each of water frontage, but it was a property that my client bought in the 70s, and they decided, her husband had passed away, and she decided they are not going to build their dream home on Lake Norman, and she wanted to sell both lots. Each lot could have its own dock, but because it only had 80 foot of water frontage for each dock could only be 800 square feet above water, or over water, I should say. So that includes your pier as well as your dock. If you do a U-shaped dock, the inside of the U does not include over water. It's just what actually is built over the water. So kind of keep that in mind as if you're thinking about purchasing a waterfront property.